Hello everyone, you're all very welcome. We're just going to leave it a moment here while the system lets everyone filter in. We're a pretty large group today. There's almost 100 people signed up, so it might just take a moment for Zoom to catch up with that. But you're all very welcome. I'd like to draw your attention to the chat box. It should be kind of around here in your screen. And you'll see that there's a little speech bubble. If you click on there, you can start the chat, say hello. We see we've got Stephen saying good morning already. Good morning, Stephen. Let us know where in the country you are. If you want to tell us a little bit about your project or your community group, we'd love to hear all of that as well. And I'll do a little bit of housekeeping once we get started to let you know about where to put your questions and everything like that. But for now, sure, we can just all settle into a little bit of a chat. And I think we've about got everyone in there. Yeah, everyone's getting chatting there. Fantastic. Donegal, Butler Gallery. Got people from all over. Dalkey, Arklow. God, you're flying in. Great. So, guys, we'll get started. So, first of all, I just want to welcome all of you to this information session for awardees of the Community Heritage Grant. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Valerie and I'm the Community and Public Engagement Officer here with the Heritage Council. And before we get started into any of the nitty-gritty and the details, first off, I just want to say congratulations on being offered your grant. We had a huge response to this grant and it was a really, really competitive process because there was just such an amazing wealth of talent and innovation going on around the country and so much passion as well. So it was a joy. I know I speak for all my colleagues when I say it was a lot of work, but it really was a joy to see the work that's going on, and it's such important work that you're doing, and it's such an honor to be able to support that, and we're so happy to have you all here today. For a little bit of housekeeping, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, you are all muted and videos are off. So the reason that we choose this format is because there are so many of us. We're currently at 87 participants. So if we had mics on, there'd be a lot of feedback and it would just get quite difficult to hear everyone. If you do have questions, and I'm sure you will, and I hope you do, no question is too small, you'll see over here quite close to the chat box, there's a Q&A. So make sure you keep the chat for just the chats and put your questions into the Q&A just so we don't miss them. And once all of our speakers are finished, I will put the questions to our speakers. So don't worry if it's sitting there for a while. We'll get to them all at the end. This session is also being recorded. So that's something that you can let other people in your community group know if anyone couldn't make it, or if you're not sure of what something was, you can always watch it back again. We will be putting it up on YouTube. For our running order for today, so first up, we will have our newly appointed Head of Communications and Public Affairs, that's Pierce O'Keefe, and he'll talk us through promoting your project and engaging with the public. And then after that, we're going to have Martina Malone, who's our Communications Officer, speaking about National Heritage Week and Biodiversity Week. And our final speaker, we saved the best for last, Amanda is our Grants Officer, and she will be talking about reporting and financial aid. So you'll have to have all your financials in there for drawdowns. That's a very, very important part. So make sure you're paying very close attention to that section. And then, as I said, at the end, we're going to run through our Q&A. So I'll just save a moment. I think we might have lost Pierce there, did we?
We seem to have, yeah.
Yeah. So I tell you what, Martina, if you're ready to go, we can skip to Martina's part and then get back to Pierce when he gets back in. So I'm just going to spotlight Martina for everyone. And fantastic. Off you go, Martina.
Yeah. Can you see my screen there? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Martina and I work as part of the team that delivers National Heritage Week each year. The dates for National Heritage Week this year are Saturday, the 13th of August to Sunday, the 21st of August. And as a grantee, you are expected to do an event or activity for National Heritage Week. National Heritage Week is coordinated by the Heritage Council as part of European Heritage Days, which is a joint initiative of the Council of Europe and the European Union. And more than 50 countries across Europe participate in European Heritage Days each year. And that's the little European Heritage Days logo up there in the top right. Over the last 2 years, with public health restrictions around events, we had to reimagine the delivery of National Heritage Week. So instead of asking people to run events, we invited them to create digital heritage projects online and to share them on the National Heritage Week website. Projects were shared with us in all different formats. As you can see there on the screen, we had videos, we had podcasts, we had PowerPoint presentations, we had links to people's websites or blogs, and also dedicated social media channels where they may have dedicated a channel just to talking about, say, highlights from the photographic collection of the Irish Museum, just to pick one on the screen there. This added a great dimension to National Heritage Week, and it really was a great success. In 2021, we had over 1,000 heritage projects developed by 863 groups. So this year, events are back and we're celebrating the full return of in-person events, but we're also going to continue on with the option to do a digital heritage project instead of an event, because digital heritage projects attracted so many new organisers in the last few years. So shortly we'll issue a call out for to individuals, communities and organisations to develop either an event or a digital project, or both if you want. So events can be indoor, outdoor or online. I've given a few examples there of the different types of events that you can do: a guided tour, an exhibition, a training event, a talk, a live performance, a reenactment, a festival, show, fair or market. And we do encourage you to do hybrid events if you can. Maybe you mightn't be in a position to live stream your event, but if you could record it, because it does make your event more accessible to people who may not have been able to attend it at the time. Digital projects, yeah, they come in a host of formats. So you could do a video, you could do a podcast, an online event, maybe an interview or an oral history recording, a dedicated social media channel, a digital newsletter or a blog. We're happy to accommodate all those type of things. So the theme across Europe this year is sustainable heritage, and that also incorporates biodiversity. The Heritage Week team is currently developing event ideas and resources around the theme for organisers this year's Heritage Week website. We're also planning, as we have done in previous years, webinars for organisers, and these will take place in June, and we will announce the dates of those later this week, and we'll email you around those dates. So as part of that webinar series, we'll kind of further explore the sustainability theme and come up with some ideas and inspiration around the theme. We'll talk about how to run a sustainable event and how to make your events and projects more inclusive. Events and projects undertaken as part of National Heritage Week should meet at least one of the following criteria. So they should promote sustainable heritage, which is the theme for this year, and promote biodiversity, maximize community engagement, kind of reach out to the maximum number of people you can in your community and get them involved. And be inclusive, bring the different generations in your community together. So you may wish to consider holding events or activities on the theme on these days. The first one is Wild Child Day, and that takes place on Saturday, the 20th of August. It was previously held on Wednesday, but we felt that Saturday would probably be a better fit for families in particular. So we moved the moved the day for Wild Child Day to the second Saturday of Heritage Week, which is the 20th. So we encourage events and activities around children and the outdoors, and getting people off the couch and off their devices and exploring the local heritage in their areas and all its forms. The second thematic day is Water Heritage Day, and we hold this in collaboration with the local authority Waters programme, and it's all about celebrating water and our connections with it. As an island, our heritage has been shaped by the sea and our rivers, lakes and wetlands. So we'd like you to explore water heritage and the importance water has played and continues to play in how we live. Just a quick word about inclusivity. We'll cover this more at our webinar in June, but we'd like you to reach out to the maximum number of people in your community and get them involved. We'd like you to think about how you can connect with heritage newcomers who have not been traditionally involved with Heritage Week before. So sometimes they may feel a little bit apprehensive about going into a museum or going into a heritage centre. So it's important that you kind of consider that and how you might help people like that get involved and come and visit your exhibition, say during Heritage Week. You also might want to consider accessibility. Can you do anything to further improve accessibility? There's a This is an event that was held in Tintern Trails last year, where they specifically had a wheelchair day on the trail. So just consider, how you can make things more accessible for people. And if you're doing a project, you might consider adding subtitles to your video or sign language to videos, because when you post them online, then you open that up to the audience that have those particular needs. So the timeline for Heritage Week this year, we'll open the website for submissions from around the middle of June. We don't have an exact date on that as yet. Webinars for organisers will take place in June. We'll announce the specific dates and the themes around those webinars shortly, and we'll email those out to you, and you can register for those. Local authority heritage officers will often produce local materials to promote events in their localities, and they've asked that if you do wish to be considered for this type of promotion, that you submit your event by Wednesday the 6th of July. Now you can continue to submit your events and projects right up to and including National Heritage Week, and in fact some people do carry out projects during Heritage Week, so that's why we leave the submission date till after Heritage Week, which is Wednesday the 24th of August. You can continue to submit events and, well, your projects in particular after Heritage Week up to the 24th of August. It's really worth checking out the Heritage Week website. We have a host of different resources on that, and we'll be adding more to these in the coming weeks. Follow the National Heritage Week social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and sign up to the Heritage Week e-zine. You'll see that down the bottom. If you go onto heritageweek.ie, down the bottom, you can sign up to the e-zine, and there you'll get, we issue usually about 6 to 7 newsletters between now and August, and they'll provide you with different tips on projects and key events that are coming up and things you might like to consider. We also have a host of videos going back quite a few years on our YouTube channel on events and past webinars that we would have had. The European Heritage Days website is also a really useful website to go on to. They have a toolkit around the sustainability theme this year. I'll put that up in the chat shortly if you'd like to take a look at that, and it explores the theme and maybe how you might run a sustainable event this year. And attend the webinars in June, as I've mentioned previously. We'll have those dates out to you shortly, and talk to your local heritage officer and tell them what you're planning. They may also have great tips for you in the run-up. So the contact information for our Heritage Week project managers are there on the screen. So if you have any any questions throughout the next few months, if you'd like to take down those details now, and you can get in touch with us. So also, if you may consider, if your project is along the kind of biodiversity wildlife area, you might also wish to consider submitting something for National Biodiversity Week. National Biodiversity Week is coordinated by the Irish Environmental Network, and it takes place quite soon. It's the 13th, the 22nd of May. So they're accepting submissions for events at the moment. So if you'd like to get in touch with them and upload an event that you might be thinking about onto their calendar events, it'll be promoted by them, and we'll also be helping them out with the promotion on that as well. If you are doing something for National Biodiversity Week, you might like to record it and maybe present how your project or event went as part of National Heritage Week, maybe project submission. So that's it from me, I think. Happy to pass back to you now, Valerie. Thank you.
Great, thanks to me, Martina. And so next we're going to pass over to Pierce. I see you're back with us now. And Pierce is going to talk to us about promoting your project and engaging with the public. So I will spotlight you there, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm having some technical issues here, so bear with me if something goes wrong here. I'll just share my screen here. Sorry, it's the wrong one. Okay, I hope you can all see that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So, as Amanda said, my name is Pierce O'Queeve. I'm the head of communications with the Heritage Council. And I don't think I really need to convince anybody here about the importance of the types of heritage projects that we fund. I mean, I don't think you'd be sitting here watching me if you weren't already convinced of that. But maybe what I could try to convince you of is the importance of communicating and promoting your projects. So a couple of years ago, and some of you might remember this, the Heritage Council funded a project called the Jack Butler Yeats Conservation Project by the Sligo Model Arts Centre. And they've been given a number of Yeats family artefacts which were in pretty bad shape and needed some conservation work. So when this work was being carried out, they discovered a number of original Jack Yeats drawings and cardboard models of his creations inside a suitcase that they've been given. So these creations probably hadn't been seen since Jack Yeats himself had placed them there hundreds of years ago. And just a wonderful discovery, and to think that it might never have been discovered is awful, you know. So for every one application that we get here pitching a project idea, there's another that we don't get because people with the idea don't know we exist. They don't know that we fund projects like this. And they're really the ones that we're concerned about, which is where you come in, and which is where good communications and promotion comes in. And it boils down to this, really. The more you promote your projects and the more you communicate with the public about what you're doing, the less chance there is that projects like this one I've just spoken about will get overlooked or won't get done. And there are so many things you can do to promote your projects and to engage in good communications. I'm not going to overload you today with too much information. And in fact, I'm going to organize a separate webinar where I'll talk specifically in more concrete terms about some of the things you can specifically do to promote your project. So we'll inform you about that when we do it, and please join. But for now, this is just a quick overview. So anything that gives a visual aid to people on what you're doing. So photographs of the project that you can post on your social media accounts, screenshots of a website, if it's a website you're working on, video footage of a site, if you're working on a site, a video of an object being conserved or restored, video interviews with people involved in the project, all of which you can post on your website or your social media accounts, and which we can then help to retweet and boost and promote. So please let us know if you upload anything like this onto your website or your social media accounts, and we'd be more than happy to give it as much coverage as possible. A press release also that you can send to your local newspaper or even parish newsletter with project updates. Anything at all that breathes life into your project and lets the public know what you're doing is really, really important and beneficial. And If and when you use any of these methods, please just acknowledge the Heritage Council's role in funding the project. And without wanting to sound too needy about it, you know, think of it like somebody reading a thank you list at a wedding or an event. And if you've done loads of work on the event, but the speaker doesn't thank you, it can be kind of hurtful. Even though presumably they haven't purposely let you out, it can still be a little bit disappointing. And, you know, even with colleagues here, I bump into them frequently when they're assessing applications and ideas, and they work really hard to make sure that good ideas get funded and become very invested in your project. So when publicity comes out and we're not acknowledged, it can just be a little bit disappointing. So I'd much prefer if you did these things, not because the Heritage Council told you to, but because you want to or you think it's important. But for those of you who aren't convinced by this line of thinking, here is the brass tacks pretty much on your contractual obligations when it comes to communications. And these are all available in the conditions, which I think you have, so you can always refer back to them, but I'll just fly through them quickly here. So evidence of how you communicated and promoted your projects, which we've mentioned through social media, local press. Martina has just spoken about National Heritage Week and National Biodiversity Week, which you also must register an event for. Promote your project and invite members of the public to learn about it. When promoting through social media, please ensure that you tag the Heritage Council in all of your posts relating to the project. And you must also include our logo on all communications materials related to the event or the project, so brochures, leaflets, reports, stuff like this. Any of your references or communications, including social media posts, must include this line of text here. And then finally, to be of benefit to the wider community, any project offered funding by the Heritage Council must register an event, as Martina has spoken about, for National Heritage Week. So they are the main things, and I won't keep any longer, but as I say, I'm going to organise a separate webinar where I dive a bit deeper into specific communications things you can do, because it's not always easy to do the things. I mean, I'm flying through them as if it's easy to do, but it can be quite tricky sometimes to get around some of the technical issues or to really make good ideas land. So more than happy to help with any queries before and after I put that webinar together. So any questions, please contact the communications team here on the address, which you can see on screen. I'm very happy to help with any questions anybody has. Thanks very much for joining, and thanks very much for your time. Congratulations as well, as Valerie said at the beginning.
Great, thanks a million, Pierce. So now we come to Amanda. So this is our final talk of the session before we move to the Q&A. And this is the point where I really must urge everyone to pay extremely close attention. And as I say, we're going to be putting all this on YouTube anyway, so don't worry if you do miss something.
So I'm just going to briefly go through the terms and conditions. Now, I know there's 10 pages of them, but I'm just going to highlight the main points. Pages, I think it's 7 to 10, really are very generic in terms of groups that are larger organizations with lots of employees and produce financial statements. And I know they really don't, they're not, they don't comply, or they don't, they're not of, oh my God, I have a brain freeze. They don't comply to you. So I'm not going to go into those details, but if you are part of a larger organization, please do read them. They are about your obligations in terms of reporting once the project is done. So first of all, I just want from myself, I want to say congratulations as well to everybody. As Valerie said, huge competition. We received 282 applications. We're funding 100, I've offered funding to 145 projects. So that's that's just about half of those that applied. So your project was one of the very lucky, and you obviously, your proposal was well planned, well defined, and unfortunately we would like to be able to fund a lot more projects. And I suppose that touches again on what Pierce was saying about communicating the importance of it, because not only does it let other people know where public money is being spent, it also helps us leverage extra funding from the department when the value of projects has greater highlight or can be seen nationally. So I'm afraid my slideshow, apart from this nice picture, is very boring after that, and especially after Martina's and Pierce's presentation, it's quite wordy. So basically, just to start off, some of you on your letters of offer will have an extra specific condition contained in it. So please make sure to look at that. Sometimes we found in the past that in excitement, people scan through the letter of offer, conditions, click, 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 and like a Ryanair terms and conditions, they're on to the next stage. So please make sure that you do check the letter of offer to make sure that there isn't, or that there is, a specific condition of offer contained in it, because when it comes to reporting a junior project, it is important that you adhere to that. Again, read the terms and conditions carefully to ensure that you can comply. You must accept your offer online by end of day on the 6th of April. I believe it was 3 weeks from the offer date, which was the 15th of April. So that falls on this, the 6th of May, I beg your pardon. That should read the 6th of May. Sorry, I'm going forward too quickly. So make sure that you have accepted that online by that date. When I say end of day, 12 midnight really. So what's important is any change to your original application, no matter how small the modification you think it is, please contact us by email to let us know what it is, because that can become problematic when the project is completed if we don't have written notice of it and we haven't provided written approval. Deadline for completion and reporting is again 12 midnight, the 19th of September 2022. Like all public bodies, we're governed by strict auditing controls, and all these, we're not setting these just to be pedantic or, you know, be tough on people. We are subject to all these controls as well in terms of auditors checking. So they check things like, have you accepted on time? Has your project information been submitted on time? So as I said, it's not just us being difficult. Once these appear in terms and conditions, they have to be complied with. And if they're not, we have to show the case for why they haven't been. So all projects obviously must be undertaken within the law and all necessary permissions in place. So that's if you have to get a special license from National Parks and Wildlife or National Monument Service. Everything has to be, all the T's have to be crossed and the I's dotted before you can commence your project. So financial requirements. There must be a bank credit union account in the name of the applicant organisation. So if Amanda's Tidy Towns Group applied and was offered funding, Amanda's Tidy Town Group must have an active credit union or bank account in its name. We cannot pay third parties, individuals involved in the project. It has to be the grantee name. Also, to watch this year, invoices must be have the name of the applicant organisation. For instance, I know a lot of groups are voluntary and individuals within that group are managing the project. So they might order some piece of equipment from, I don't know, scanners.com, and the invoice arrives because it was the individual who ordered it in the individual's name. That again can be problematic for us. So just, even if it's only a reference, make sure that the organisation's name is on the invoice that follows. Grants of 10,000 and over will require current tax clearance verification. This is the only exception to this if you have a charity number or you are a public body. All other groups, no matter whether they're voluntary, if they're in or outside the state, have to have this tax clearance, and you can, revenue.ie have all guidelines on how to apply for this, and it shouldn't be problematic. It's, you know, it's common practice and they're well used to groups applying to them. Grant funding only for agreed work undertaken between the offer date and the deadline. So that basically means we cannot fund any invoices or work that has been undertaken before our offer date of the 15th of April, and again after the deadline of the 19th of September. With the exception of public bodies, all grantee groups, organisations do not have to show that they have paid their invoices. So we won't be looking for receipts or bank statements or proof that funds have left your bank to the consultant or the supplier. All you need to show us is the invoice for the actual cost of the item. Now, that's not a quotation, it's an actual invoice. So a lot of contractors do work on the basis of that a grant is forthcoming and will wait until the grant is paid. Obviously, that's not the case with if you're dealing with kind of suppliers that, you know, you have to pay in advance with the order if you're doing it online. But I'll come to that in a minute. But basically, you don't have to show that you've actually transferred funds to your supplier. This is, with exception to public bodies, they will have to prove on the 19th of September when they submit their drawdown that they have actually paid the invoices, and that will be in the form of a declaration letter. Now, I just noticed it's not attached to the conditions, but I'll update the conditions online so that template letter is there for any public body grantees that have been offered funding. So, for instance, in the case of where there is cash flow problems, we can organise or facilitate an interim payment depending on the size of the grant. For instance, if it's a grant of 20,000, which is the max, I would imagine 2 payments before the final claim is about, would be about as much as we could facilitate. Obviously, if you have a grant of offer of 5,000, administering 3 drawdowns for a grant of 5,000 really isn't viable in terms of our resources and even your time in terms of having to put this work into making an online application for funding. So I would suggest that if you have cash flow problems, that maybe perhaps make an interim claim about halfway through the project and then the final report and claim at the end. Now, to do that, you'll have to submit a progress report online with details of the outputs to date, and you'll also have to submit a claim online, and that will be the copies of the invoices incurred to date and include your bank credit union details. Usually takes approximately 3 weeks to process. And if we've any queries on the submission, we will contact you. We won't just not pay you. We will, if there's anything we need to check or you've omitted it, and we will get back to you. It's no harm when you have, if you are submitting an interim claim, when you have done it, it's no harm actually just sending me a quick email to say you've done it, because it'll mean it's kind of on my radar and I'll try and get it sorted as quickly as possible. Sometimes it is problematic because we are a small organisation. So we'll say, for instance, I know last year we had problems around August with interim claims coming in because it generally is kind of holiday leave for staff here. So there was delays. So I would suggest kind of, if you can avoid the August time period, to put in a claim before that to ensure that you're kind of paid in a timely way. We do not pay the grant. I know other funding organisations give a kind of an advance up front to start the project. Unfortunately, we're unable to do that. So you will have to progress the grant or progress the works on the basis that once it's completed so far, that you can make an interim request for funding. Okay, so when you do your final report and claim, first of all, the final report section of our online system, there's a series of template questions. You'll have to provide a brief outline of projects, activities undertaken, any problems encountered, benefits of the project to the local community, and what's important, and you should be thinking about now before you commence your project, is we will be looking for the number of employment and voluntary hours supported by the project. You will also be asked how you, if there's any of those specific conditions in your letter of offer, that'll automatically appear on your final report section asking, how did you meet that specific condition? As Pierce has said, you will have to produce evidence of the National Heritage Week or National Biodiversity Week that you undertook. And that can be in the form of screenshots, photographs of nice smiling groups out on a Biodiversity Week walk or something like that. But you will have to provide evidence. It's not good enough just to say it happened. We do look for, as I said, evidence, proof that it did happen. Again, the same with acknowledging funding. It's not good enough to say, oh, well, we acknowledged you at a launch, or we acknowledged you verbally at an event we had. We actually want to see where you did. So again, screenshots of Facebook posts, screenshots of or copies of invites or posters or anything like that, where you can show that the Heritage Council was acknowledged. In terms of project promoting, I think what would be considered acceptable would be that while we've already issued press releases and we're still doing a promotion campaign on the good news and all the wonderful projects we'll be supporting, it would be very good if you, as groups, if you're on social media, that you also made an announcement about the project and the funding that you're being awarded from the Heritage Council. If you're not active on social media, perhaps contact your local heritage officer. A lot of them have heritage pages or heritage Twitter or anything like that, and they'll be happy to help you. Also, maybe the local parish bulletin, or again, even contact your local radio or newspaper. And we also, so that we expect really an announcement from yourselves. We also will expect an interim kind of promotion saying, look, remember we told you about this project, here's how we're getting on. And then at the end, when the project is completed, if for instance you funded a biodiversity action plan for your local area, that biodiversity action plan should be available, or a link to it, for other members of the community or public to see. So I'm talking about three definite areas of promotion that you should do, and which we will be looking for as part of your project drawdown. In terms of the output of your project, we will be looking for a copy. So for instance, if you got funding to do a report or an audit, we will be looking for a copy of that report and audit, and or if it's a digital resource, links to where it's available. All must include the Heritage Council logo. For repairs to buildings, you must include or upload a copy of a report prepared by your conservation supervisor, and this should include caption photographs showing the works in progress and basically declaring that they have been completed to a conservation standard. Sorry, I moved too quick. For training events, we will expect a report on the event with photographs. Tell us how many attendees, have you any feedback, was there evaluations, anything that you would change for next year. So these are all kind of the key outputs of your project. General advice: all reports, documents, please save in PDF and JPEG format. Please don't upload Word documents. Maximum is 10 megabytes per document. This is important in terms of if you are commissioning those audit reports or conservation plans, that you tell whoever is producing them for them that you will need a 10 megabyte document at the end of it. They will be, this is no problem. It becomes problematic at the end when you're given a report of 70 megabytes that is useless to anyone. And in terms of even getting the information out there, who can download a 70 megabyte document? So that's one of the reasons we keep it to a usable size format. So tell the person that you are commissioning to do the report that they must produce the report in that size. Now they will be able to resize photographs or compress, you know, it's not an issue, and we won't accept reports that are over that. So it is important that you highlight that at the beginning. Please name the files that you upload according to the content, and don't use any symbols or hashtags or anything like that, because it could prevent uploading. And while we will come back to you and say if a document isn't uploaded and look for it, it does delay the whole process in terms of getting payment out for you. So the more we have to come back to you, the longer that 3 weeks progresses. So, and I know everyone will be anxious to get payment through to their bank accounts as quickly as possible. We are hoping to possibly do another just before drawdown, do another webinar just to kind of go through the drawdown again, because it can be difficult for people. And again, we are very conscious that it is a lot of volunteering, and you know, people only have a certain amount of time. So any help we can offer to make it as easy as possible, we certainly want to do that. So if you have any queries or concerns about your project, please contact us as soon as possible. Also, stay engaged with your local heritage officer. They are, most of them, or the majority, I should say all of them, are very active on the ground. Some are new at the moment. We're delighted to have some new heritage officers on board, but it's really good, and they have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and they're always happy to help community groups in particular. And if you have any specific queries, do contact us. Like, for instance, if it's something like I've submitted a report and I haven't heard back from the Heritage Council, it's better to contact us directly rather than the Heritage Officer, because that's the Heritage Officer then has to contact us, and then it's just contact us. But if there's something specific about your project from a local point of view, or ideas or help in promoting it, certainly the heritage officers are key. So contacting the Heritage Council about your grant, that's my email address. All our contact details are on our website. We're working on a remote or a blended work policy, so I imagine there will be some form of remote working going forward, but our contact mobile numbers are on our website as well. But that's my contact number, and people are free to contact me if they have questions. But I would say, if it is any modifications or changes, please put it in writing, because if you ring me, I will be telling you the same thing. I have to go through a process. I can't just say, yeah, that sounds great, far ahead. We have to have everything in writing. And again, this is all to do with auditing and transparency and good practice and governance in terms of public monies. So that's, I hope I haven't lambasted you too much with all the terms and conditions, but they're kind of the key pointers or key items that you should think about now when you commence your project. And I would say, if you have any events coming up, do email us about them. While not all staff members may be able to go, you'd never know, one of our staff may be out on an inspection and can attend. A council board member can attend, maybe our CEO can attend. So we'd be delighted. And again, it helps us promote your project as well. But and it's good for representatives of the Heritage Council to be there as well. So that's it for me for now. Thanks very much.
Great, thanks a million, Amanda. It won't be all from you for long now, because we have a fair few questions for you, so I wouldn't get too relaxed. So yeah, thanks so much to Martina and Pearson and Amanda for that, like, really informative. There's lots of great questions coming in the Q&A box, and just keep popping them in as well, everyone, because we'll work our way down through them now, and we'll do our best to get them all answered in the time allotted. So the first one that we have up here is for Martina. What is meant by sustainable heritage? Surely heritage which retains aspects of the past is inherently sustainable. And I know that you had shared the link to the European Heritage Days in the chat box. So if you wanted to chat a little bit about that, and yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Can hear you now.
Hi. Yeah, sustainable heritage. I suppose heritage by its nature is sustainable. I suppose we all have to consider how we're going to live now in a more sustainable way and at one with nature and reusing things rather than creating new things. So that brochure explores the theme that I put up. We'll also have that webinar for organisers in June, where we'll kind of flesh out that theme and look at it in the context of communities and groups and what we can do around that theme. And also it's about running sustainable events. So, you know, simple things like recycling, not using, you know, single-use plastics, you know, not producing loads of flyers and booklets that are redundant after the event is over, to kind of produce more digital resources, because at least you can change and adapt those over time and they're not all going into landfill at the end of your event. So the webinars in June will hopefully address a lot of.
I think as well there's an interesting concept that's come up a lot with chatting
some tips
around the sustainability of community heritage groups themselves, that they seem to sort of have these life cycles, these committees, and how do we keep that sustained as well? So there's that nuance to the sustainability as well. And kind of leading on from that, our next question, we had two questions about this actually, about the printed Heritage Week booklets. So will they be happening? Will there be county ones and will there be national ones? We had two questions about that.
Yeah, what we found about the National Heritage Week guide is it was pretty much out of date as soon as it was printed. People can continue to update events and to upload events onto the Heritage Week website right up until and during Heritage Week itself. That guide was produced around the first week of July, from what I remember. And you know, things change, events change. We just found that the information in it was becoming out of date very quickly. So for that reason, we've decided not to produce that national event guide anymore. Now, the local authority heritage officers will be doing promotion around events in their counties, so they may produce local promotional materials. So that's how we've asked people that want to be considered for those local promotional guides to submit their events and projects by the first Wednesday in July. And there is additional functionality on the Heritage Week website this year. It'll allow you to kind of to put a little love heart up in the corner of the events you like, and to build your own event trail so that you can look at that on your phone at any time, and you have ones highlighted that you particularly interested in or might be attending that weekend, so that you can click in at any time and look at the most up-to-date information for that event at that time.
Great, thanks, Million. We had a lot of questions there about specific information from the different slides. So just to remind everyone that all of this will be going on YouTube. And if you have any specific questions about things that you might have missed and that you aren't clear to you when you're reading it back as well, you can always just email me as well, and we'll be able to get in touch with you about that. So Amanda, I hope you're well rested. I have quite a few questions for you here now.
Oh gosh, with them.
So the first one is just wondering, is it an issue if a community group delivers slightly less sessions than originally hoped or listed for in the grant application?
Again, it goes back to kind of any modification or change from the original application. Just stick it in an email. It doesn't have to be an exhaustive, lengthy email. Keep it short, and there shouldn't be any problem. But we need to go, as I said, we just need to go through a process in terms of approving it. And we're conscious that people are anxious to start and get going, so we will get it sorted ASAP. So again, yeah, any change or modification from what you originally applied for, just, as I said, put it in a quick email.
And then this is a very similar question, and I imagine a very similar answer. If some of the items you listed to purchase with the grant are now unavailable or out of stock, is it okay to change supplier or change items slightly?
Again, like the change of supplier, normally, like if it's non kind of heritage items, yes, that's fine. But I suppose where, like for instance, if you're ordering a museum cabinet and you have a specific a specialized supplier doing it, and that was in your application, and that changes and you're ordering from somewhere else, we would need to be sure that who you're ordering it from, that it is museum grade. So I'd say, just to be on the safe side, it probably is, again, better to just quick email. And again, there shouldn't be any problem, and 99.9% of the time there isn't any issues. But as I said, we need to keep a document trail.
Great. Pierce, you're up next. So we've had some questions around social media and acknowledging funding and tagging us and things like that. People are wondering if there's a specific hashtag that they should be using.
As far as I know, there's not. Previous issues predate my arrival here, so Martina might correct me, but as far as I'm aware, there is not. So for now, just tagging us would be the main thing. And if we develop a hashtag, I don't see us doing it. It's quite a lengthy, it's got a lengthy grant title, so it doesn't roll off the tongue. But just tagging us for now will do. Thanks a lot.
Great, thanks, Pierce. Amanda, you didn't get much time to rest now. And I think that's going to be the theme of the afternoon. We have a question here about drawing down grant money. So can any of the grant money be drawn down before the final reporting is done to pay professionals involved? And I know you touched on this on your talk. Yeah. I suppose it bears repeating.
Yes, no, it can be if you have progressed a certain amount. For instance, if you have engaged a professional, we would expect that they have proceeded a certain amount of work, or progressed a certain amount of work, and that you can show that as part of an interim claim or a progress report and claim. So yes, it can be, but we can't give money prior to the work actually commencing, but we can offer stage payments.
Okay. There's a question here about a condition in a letter of offer. It says digitization meta standards must be complied with. Is there a particular document that outlines these standards? And I suppose just for anyone who does have a condition like that, that's saying that they need to abide by certain standards, where can they go and who can they talk to?
Okay, now I can't answer, I wouldn't have the technical expertise now to answer that. Yeah. We had Leslie Ann with us. I don't know if she's still with us
now, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll certainly, anything like that, if there is a specific condition that you're not sure about, do contact us. Bernie, I have you here now, so I know you're querying it. We will follow up on that to make sure that we're all clear on what that means exactly, and what you should be referencing. So I'll be back in contact with you, Bernie. And if anyone else has a specific question or a query on their specific condition, please do contact us, and we'll be happy to provide clarification.
I would say as well, if anyone has something in there that says, like, to speak to a suitably qualified conservation architect or something like that, ask your heritage officer, because they're going to have the contacts and know who the people in your area are, and then obviously talk to the relevant professional officer in the Heritage Council. So say with that example, if it's a conservation architect, talk to Colin Murray and he'll be able to tell you, because it would most likely be him that would have put that condition in there. If you need more clarity, just ask, like, what exactly do you mean? Like, we're all, as you can see, we're all human, so feel free to give us a shout anytime. Happy to help.
In preparing those specific conditions, they are a result of a lot of assessment, a lot of comments, and they are kind of like a cut and paste quickly. Get it in, get the letters out. So we're certainly happy to clarify, and so that everyone is clear.
The next question is around procurement. So are there any specific consultant procurement requirements? A number of services are specialised with only a specific provider of the service based in Ireland.
What we would be usually that would be highlighted in the application, who you're planning to get. If it hasn't been like a to be confirmed, we don't police that, but we would be looking for value for money. So, you know, you have to be like procuring or buying anything like we do with our own budgets and household management. You have to look for value for money, and it has to be reasonable. But in terms of actually procuring, we wouldn't police that, no.
I love the way this question is worded, because I think it's something we can all relate to at the moment. In the unlikely event that prices go down or VAT rates reduce, will this reduce the grant or reduce the 20% funding which the group are providing?
I'm kind of a bit unclear. Our funding offered won't change. And the 20%, so if we offer, we'll say 20,000 and your third-party costs come in at 19,500, we will only pay you 19,500. If your costs come in at 24,000, we will only pay 24,000.
Great.
I hope that makes sense.
This was a question that was asked quite a bit as well about capturing and reporting voluntary labour. So is there a template or Excel or something like that, and any other requirements that people need for recording voluntary labour?
That's a good question, and one we need to think about. We base it kind of on a 7-hour day, and again, we're looking for kind of estimates. So if, for instance, your group, you know, try and capture like how many hours were involved in preparation of a Heritage Week event, or, you know, reporting or contacting, liaising with consultants, or we're looking, it helps. We're looking for an estimate. We're basing it, it's not, I suppose, very scientific in terms of, we don't have a formula or anything like that, but it really, really helps us in terms of looking for extra funding for the department. It actually is one of the most crucial things we use, is the feedback we get from applicants in terms of employment hours supported and the number of the level of volunteering involved in projects. This forms a key part of us when we're putting in requests for extra funding. It is key data we use. So I will research that more in terms of maybe what other bodies do. We don't want to make it too pedantic and too difficult, but at the same time, we don't want outlandish returns. So it's a very important query, and I definitely will follow up on it and see, can we make it a bit clearer or easier for groups to capture. But I would say, if you are commissioning a report especially, I would say it to the person that's doing it, could they kind of keep an estimate of the number of hours? And I'm sure most firms anyway probably do keep a tab on or hours involved in working on a project, so it shouldn't be an issue for them to provide that to you at the end. And the same with someone who's contracted to do repairs to a building. Their invoice will be based on the number of hours or the quotation. So again, that shouldn't be difficult for them to provide. But if we can provide further info or advice on capturing the volunteering hours, we will.
As for the bank accounts and the credit union accounts, can this be the parent body, such as a local history group, as the applicant group is different? So the applicant group, what I'm gathering from this question, is that it's a subgroup set up to engage the wider community. So can their parent group be the named owner of the account?
Well, on the application form, in applying to us, there is a question in the contact details that says, have you a parent group? What's your connection? And normally, if you are a subgroup, applicants would list the parent group in that. If you haven't listed the parent group, that we will request, you will need to email us to explain it, because it wasn't identified in the application coming in. Again, it shouldn't be a major issue, but I will need to send it down the line for approval.
Great. I'm not sure which of our panelists would be best suited to answer the next question. If we had Maria Walsh here, she'd be the one for it. If children are attending the workshop alongside adults, is there a child protection policy that needs to be followed or necessary vetting? Like, as far as I understand it, that would be individual to the group, like their child protection policy or their safeguarding policy, as opposed to us overseeing all the groups in the country.
Yeah, we don't. We have guidelines on our website, but again, it is up to the groups to make sure that that is in place within their group. But I'm afraid that's all I can advise on that.
We've had quite a few questions about reporting, like progress reports and final reports. So I'm going to try and amalgamate as many of them together as I can. So the first question is, do you have to send in a progress report if they don't need the money until the end? And can they just do the final report?
Absolutely, yes, that's fine.
Great. And another question about the final report was, if it's available well before the deadline date and all the obligations have been reached, will the grant be paid before the final submission date?
It's improved. One item has gone up, down, meaning we could adjust another item not adding.
Well, that's a different one. Sorry, Amanda. That's a different
sorry.
one.
Yeah, sorry. Which sorry, I beg your pardon.
So if the final report is available well before the deadline date and all the obligations have been reached, will the grant be paid before the final submission date?
It can be, again, as I said, it depends on resources in-house. If it comes in August can be problematic because staff are on leave. So certainly, in an ideal, theoretically, yes, absolutely. If it comes in, we'll try and get paid as quickly as possible. We're anxious to clear our budgets as quickly as possible and to pay ye. So yes, if it's finished, send it in.
And is there a specific format for the final report?
Yes, it's online as on my presentation. There's template questions, and then depending on your output, you must upload a copy of whatever that output is, what the grant was used to pay for, and also evidence of acknowledgement and Heritage Week events.
And there was a question asking how soon can we submit our final report? And I suppose as soon as it's done.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully it's not done yet.
And the next one then would be for Martina, and it's on a similar theme with the final reports. Can we submit our final report after Heritage Week?
Yes, that's fine. Yes.
Yeah.
I would say, I suppose, submitting a final report before Heritage Week could be a little bit, because you'd have to convince us. And you'd have to have an event registered. But yes, theoretically, yes, we can pay it once it's completed.
Great. And Martina, we had a question about previous Heritage Weeks. So are past events from previous years still available to view on the Heritage Week event before? I'm guessing that means on the website, because they said it's nice to look back to view them. And I suppose it'd also be good to get inspiration for what other people have done before.
The 2021 projects are there, but they are cleared down every year because we couldn't, the website will get too big and unwieldy and wouldn't work correctly if we were to leave them there year on year. So you can view the 2021 project, say the middle of May, so you'll have to be quick enough because they will be cleared down then as the new submission phase opens.
And I would say as well, if you do notice when you're going through the 2021 ones that there's a particular project that you really like, check up that group on Facebook and on Instagram, because they'll have all of that on there, because that's something that we look for is examples of how they promote it online and through social media. And if it's something that you'd be interested in doing, like say if it's a a festival or an exhibition or a project that's similar to your own, get in touch, you know, and if you need any help getting in touch with people or want any introductions or anything, you can always email me as well. So you'll get me at vkelly@heritagecouncil.ie, or even just replying to your invite for this and your registration emails. Those replies will come to me. So yeah, there's definitely scope there to find information on what people did afterwards by, I suppose, reaching out to them more directly. I think, Amanda, we're coming back to you now. We have a question about budgeting. You got a little bit of a respite there. Can the budget be shifted around between existing approved line items? For example, one item has gone up or down, meaning could we adjust another item? So I think that's just like making modifications, but not actually adding anything new.
Yes, modification, I would urge caution and just send us a quick email, because it's difficult to know. One item could have gone down substantially and then the other item up substantially. So that could raise questions at the end if we'll say speakers were budgeted at €1,000 and suddenly you're claiming speaker fees of €3,000. So it is better if there's anything like that, in particular around the budget, just to send us a quick email so that we have it recorded, and then that there's no issues raised then when it comes to payment.
Yeah, so I suppose the running theme with any modifications is just to let us know. Yeah, the main thing. So we don't get a land when it comes to drawdown. We're comparing,
and the less queries that are asked and delay payment.
Yeah, exactly. We have a question here about events. So should groups be letting the Heritage Council know about all of their events, or just the ones funded by the Heritage Council? Pierce, I think that might be for you, as with like tagging and letting us know about things. Do you think that people should be telling us everything that they're doing, or just the particular events that we're funding?
I think primarily the events that we ourselves are funding, they're the ones we're particularly interested in. But we're interested in all things heritage. So if you feel like a project is worth bringing to our attention, absolutely, let us know. Like I see in the chat there that somebody has told us about that they're featuring their trust on the Pat Kenny show tomorrow. Like that's great to know. So I'll definitely be tuning into that, and we record those things here and send it around internally to keep colleagues updated with what's going on in the media in our sector. So absolutely, if you have the time and you think of us, send us things that have nothing to do with us. But strictly speaking, definitely send us the stuff we're involved in. So yeah, thanks for the question.
Great. Amanda, we're back to you again. A question about the conservation report. Architect has outlined the invoice needs to be paid within 30 days of the site visit, with the report to follow once completed. If this is outlined in the follow-up report, can money be given before the report is in hand?
So I take it from that question that the funding is being used to prepare a conservation report. We can't pay for the report if we don't have it to hand. No, no, we can't. Okay. Yeah, that's the key output.
Yeah. There's a question here about the conditions. So are the conditions outlined in the grant offer the full conditions, or are other conditions likely to be applied after acceptance?
No. If Rosemary wants to elaborate, but no, they are the conditions of offer.
Yeah, I think what Rosemary's saying there is like at drawdown, are we going to say, well, now we need you to do this and now we need you to do that? But it's
no, we may, like where projects or where payments were delayed in previous years, it's where further clarification was sought, and there was nothing new in terms of well, it wasn't included in the conditions. It was where, you know, information was omitted and we needed that information before we could progress it. But there'll be no kind of surprises, oh, we want this done. No.
Yeah. And the last question that I see there, unless any more come in while we're chatting now, was about when was the letter of offer sent out? And I believe that was last
The 15th of April, and in terms of sent out, we didn't post any sustainable heritage. They're all available to view online. So you need to log into your onto the grants portal with your unique password and username, and double click on your application title, and the letter of offer and terms and conditions will be there for you to accept. But we didn't actually post out any hard copy letters.
Great. We've had a few more come in there now, so thankfully my call out for more questions was heeded. So we have one here that says, when I click on view conditions, standard rules for groups offered a community heritage grant from the Heritage Council, does this mean we have no special conditions?
They're the standard terms and conditions. A special condition will be contained in the letter of offer. So just view your letter of offer to make sure it's, as far as I can remember, it was in the italics and contained in the first paragraph and in black bold. So if there's nothing there, no statement or sentence, it means there's no special conditions, just the normal terms and conditions.
Okay. Will original applications still be available to view on the portal?
Yeah, you should be able to view and print your original application.
Great, because yeah, that's so helpful, because then you know when you're applying for a job and then you get called to interview and you're like, oh, what did I say in the application?
Yes, yeah.
It's good to have all of that there to refer back.
Yeah.
Would it be the case that the Heritage Council would wish to do a site visit to see the project has been delivered?
Mark, we'd love to do site visits. Yeah. And in fact, I'd love to do a travelling roadshow around the country, visiting all the wonderful grantees and seeing all the projects firsthand. Unfortunately, we have to be quite strategic, and I suppose it's where, for instance, if there's a lot of projects in Donegal and an officer can do a few together, so we have to be mindful of lots of factors, value for money, resources, things like that. But absolutely, in an ideal world, theoretically, we should be visiting all the projects we're funding. But I know we've extra staff this year that we didn't have in previous years. So hopefully, and with COVID restrictions now more or less gone, that there will be greater ability to facilitate site visits and things like that. So, but if there's something specific, certainly send us an email, and perhaps, you know, it can be timetabled into some other activity that is going on here as well.
Can I just add to that as well? In the absence of being able to do site visits, that's where the beauty of photographs and video and stuff like that comes in, because even looking through some of the projects already over the last couple of weeks, a quick Google gives me an amazing view of what you're doing when things are available online. So if something is drawing to a close, if you could just remember to let us know and send a few photos, videos, anything like that, we're really happy to let the public know that it's coming to a close. So in the absence of being able to do a road trip, which I would also love, remember that we still can get those visuals out to people with the internet.
Yeah, great. I think a road trip is really.
Yes, I think we should hire a bus.
I think we should put it to the department for next year, certainly.
Yeah.
Everyone is very pro.
I mean, that is definitely one of the nicer aspects of the job, is getting out, meeting people and seeing the projects. Without doubt, it's like it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. But it's not always possible, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's even for understanding the project a bit more. Like, I know I did a few site visits in Donegal last month, I think it was, and then like reading through the applications, like I could visualize it all better because I'd been there and I knew what it was, and it's great to see. Like, there's so much, like we were saying earlier, there's so much passion in this country for heritage, and there's so much incredible work going on. So it's great to meet you on the ground and actually see what's happening.
And we're getting great offers of Prosecco and cheese.
Oh God, sign me up. Sign me up. Oh, out to Kylemore. I'm only in Salt Hill, so I'm not too far from you, John.
A vintage bus, great ideas.
I'll be able to sample the chocolate in Kylemore.
Yeah. Well, so if there's no more questions, do you think
that is us, yeah, for questions? Yeah. And if anyone does think of any questions after the fact as well, feel free to email us. You can send them all through to me, and then I can forward them on to whoever is chocolates at the ready, to whoever is the most appropriate person to answer. As I said as well, everything is going to be on YouTube. I'd imagine by tomorrow evening at the latest. It all depends on internet connections for getting everything uploaded. But with that, I just want to thank everyone so much for coming. Your questions have been really interesting. There's been some great engagement in the chat as well, and it's great to see people wanting to promote each other's projects too. And as I say, stay in touch. If you have any questions at all, give us a shout. You know where to find all our contact details. It's all on the Heritage Council website. And we will talk to you next time. So take care, everyone.